Hello, welcome to Taboo Tuesday. I am your host, Sophia, and I am here with Claire Carlson. It is her second episode. She was the first ever two-timer on Taboo Tuesday, so yay to that.
Yeah.
I am a mobility specialist, a meditation teacher, and a yoga instructor. If you want to listen to more Taboo Tuesday, it is on Instagram TV at Sophia Finster, on YouTube, Sophia Finster, and coming soon, it will also be a podcast on wherever you listen to your podcasts. I will let you know as soon as that is available to listen. I'll upload all the previous 10 episodes. And if you like talking about taboo topics, like listening to other people talk about taboo topics, go ahead, like, subscribe, follow, comment, review, all those fun things, depending on what platform you are. That actually really does make a difference and helps spread the word to more people and helps normalize talking about taboo topics, helps us all find more connections, which is awesome. So Claire, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, I'll go for it. Hello, my name is Claire Carlson, and as I said in my last introduction with our last Zero Waste Taboo Tuesday, I am a watershed planning coordinator, and I'm really interested in low waste and zero waste living. You can find me on Instagram for more low waste inspiration at Claire Goes Granola, and I think that's about it.
Yeah. So as we've been alluding to, I think a few weeks ago, we talked about all things zero waste or low waste, creating less waste in our lives. Both Claire and I have done this several times in our life. I have gone off and on with it, and we've talked about slowly laying into it. And we wanted to do another episode because we wanted to talk about what we actually tell people when they say that they want to go create less waste in their life. I've had multiple people ask me, Claire's had multiple people ask her, and we thought we would actually make a resource for you. In the first episode, we also talk about privilege and information. So we know that it is a privilege to do a lot of these things. We acknowledge that. We're not asking anybody to do these things unless you want to. It is your choice. And we do realize that information and resources available in your community aren't something that we can know. So we're going to do our best to give you the resources that we are aware of. There are definitely more out there, and keep on listening if that intrigues you. So I asked you last week, Claire, how do you answer the question if I were to come up to you and ask, how do I live zero waste? How do I create less waste in my life?
Yes. So the first thing I usually say is that it's not an overnight process at all. It's been, for me, about a 5-year journey, and I'm nowhere close to being perfect. So that's one of the first things I say. And the next thing that I usually bring up is asking that individual what area of their life do they feel like they have or produce the most waste in. And often I usually give the example of me in the kitchen. I create a lot of waste with food, packaging for food products, and just all that good stuff. So that's usually what I bring up. There's other areas as well, but for me, the kitchen is the biggest place where I create the most waste, which is, I don't know, it's kind of a bummer because I love cooking too. So I hate that I'm just constantly in that battle of waste, like trying to create things that are lower waste, especially during the time now where it's COVID. And in my area specifically, a lot of the zero waste options and low waste options have been shut down. So yeah, I guess that's my long but short answer.
Yeah, and we talked about how we answer that question similarly. I think when I was trying to go zero waste, I think low waste is more realistic. I don't think, if you think about zero waste, we're all using electricity. You can't really go zero waste, in my opinion, depending on how you define that. But I remember I was doing a challenge many, many years ago, and the challenge was you have to carry around all the waste that you create for a week. And that really made me aware of wow, like I create a lot of waste, and I'm using resources that are now no longer usable, and that is problematic for our world. And just like Claire, I realized for me, the two big places that I found myself creating waste was in the kitchen and in the bathroom for soaps, shampoos, and whatnot. But for this episode, we're going to focus on tangible things you can do in your kitchen with your food habits to create less waste. And again, do what works for you. Start simple, start with one thing, and then, you know, maybe a few weeks later, try something else. Make this doable for yourself. Make it easy, because if you try to do too much, you're probably going to fail, and then you might just give up altogether.
Yes.
And we've all been there in our life.
Yes. I have noticed when I've tried to go too far into zero waste or low waste living right off the bat, and you can attest to this as well, I get very overwhelmed, and then I just want to quit because I'm like, I can't do this. I'm obviously failing now. So how am I ever going to accomplish this? So definitely start off small and don't bite off more than you can chew. That's my biggest piece of advice when it comes to like zero or low waste in the kitchen. And then in addition to that, the other thing that we've talked about too is you don't have to be perfect right off the bat. You don't have to follow that aesthetic of zero waste or low waste living that you'll see on Instagram. That's not realistic for a lot of people. So it's important to keep that in mind too.
Definitely. And I love that metaphor for the kitchen too. Don't bite off more than you can chew.
Oh, true.
Perfect for this episode. Yeah, so, and we will actually, I'm going to have more of these actual resources, the websites we talk about, the products we talk about, actually in the description of this, wherever you are, whether that's Instagram or YouTube or eventually a podcast on Spotify or Apple. And so, but I'm going to actually start out with talking about compost and bulk purchasing. Yeah, so one resource that I recently found, it's called litterless.com, and it's not totally comprehensive, right? It doesn't have all the resources, but for each state within the US, it gives you grocery stores where you can buy bulk. Asterisk, with COVID, that probably has changed, so maybe give the store a call first. Mm-hmm. Definitely doesn't have all the stores in the world on there. But it also has resources for how to compost in your community, maybe. It has at least some resources per state. And again, it doesn't have everything, but it could be a first step if you're looking for where do I buy bulk and where can I compost?
Yes.
And then Claire, do you want to talk about a little bit, there's many different ways you can compost. There's a lot of, I don't know, people who think compost is this and isn't that. Can you share some different ways that people can compost?
Yeah, for sure. So the one thing that I do, because I live in a community where we don't have curbside composting, which I think can be true for many communities throughout the US, especially in more rural parts of the country. But and I'm not even sure if this is technically okay. This is just what I've been doing for the past couple of years. I reuse like brown paper bags that I've gotten from grocery stores, especially when COVID first came out with the reusable bag ban at my local store. I couldn't bring anything in. So I started off using brown paper bags, and then I decided I was going to utilize those for my compost. So essentially I get one of these brown bags and I put all my food scraps in there and I freeze it, and my freezer can become quite full of compost to the point where the door can't shut, which happened last week. And then I take it to my local landfill, which after I had done some research, because I really wanted to compost, I found out that they had a composting facility there. So I am able to take my compost there and drop it off. However, there are some other options too, I know, in maybe larger communities where they have businesses that do composting and provide a composting service. You might have that, Sophia, where you live. Mm-hmm. And then the other one that we've talked about too, if you don't have your own at-home composting system and you don't have the space for that, is to drop it off at a local farmer's market. I'm sure plenty of producers would love to have some extra food scraps so they can create some good soil for their crops. So those are some of the ways in which I've utilized composting in the past, but specifically now I just freeze my compost in my freezer.
Yeah, I actually love that tip. When I started freezing my compost, I think a lot of people have concerns about bugs or flies or mold or grossness, but if you freeze your compost, and none of that's going to happen. But like you said, you do have to get rid of it. I do it once a week. I'm so fortunate that a farmer's market a few blocks away from my house, every Saturday morning, me or one of my roommates, we go and drop off our compost. Another thing that we've recently done, so I have these compostable bags here. They're just like normal bags, but you can see they're compostable.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So sometimes I will just put it in a plastic bag, like before I had some of these. But
Mhm.
it's just like a little bit easier to like not have to rip the plastic bag open and put it into the
Yeah.
bin. Um, but these come in handy if you don't want to like get
Where do
messier.
you purchase those
Um,
at, or where do you get them?
yeah, so I know I found these at Whole Foods before. I
Ah,
actually bought these from a service called Grove.co. That is one of the services that I'm going to talk about. They have a lot of I don't know, home goods that are less waste, that are trying to have a smaller footprint on the planet. I have a few things here in my example pile that you can't see of other lower waste items that I've bought from them. But like I said, well, like I haven't said actually, a lot of these items that we talk about, we're going to give you a lot of online resources because a lot of these things can be ordered anywhere in the US,
mhm.
sometimes anywhere in the world. But I'm finally, I'm 4 or 5 years into my zero waste journey, and I'm finally looking to local places to buy things like this. So it's, in my opinion, a little bit better to find this in your local community, but we know that that's just another step that can sometimes be a barrier, especially with COVID. So
Yeah.
just keep that in mind when you're trying to find, like, you can Google compostable bag, you can get them on Amazon, you can get them maybe your local co-op. But yeah, and then what Claire also mentioned about different ways to compost. You can compost at home with vermicompost, different types of compost. I would say that's probably one of the harder ways to compost, or one of the more time-intensive ways to compost. I know a lot of people don't want worms in their house, but some people are fascinated by that.
That's
So
awesome though.
that, I think it's super cool. But then I know specifically in Washington, D.C., there are 3 different services that do curbside pickup of compost. I believe it's Compost Cab, Compost Crew, and Veteran Compost. They are all a fee that you have to pay. From my research of those 3, the cheapest one is $30 per month. So if you have roommates, that's, I don't know, maybe 15, could be even less than $10 per person per month. And those services work. You basically get a 5-gallon bin and you put it out in front of your door once a week. They pick it up just like your trash. And that is a really low effort way. You basically just have to make sure you're getting your compost into your freezer, into a bin, and then getting it onto your porch.
And that's actually, that brought up an idea that I hadn't thought of. I know a lot of communities do have curbside pickups for yard waste. And I'm sure if you called and asked what else they could accept, that they may accept food scraps as well. Again, I don't know if this is a fact. I just have seen that in a lot of communities. Like, they do accept that. So that is organic waste. They might accept food. I guess it just depends on where you're at. But that could be something someone could check into.
Yeah. So you can always call up somebody and ask questions. That's a great way to get your questions answered. And
Yes.
then the last thing I'm going to say on the topic of compost before we move on is that in the DC compost pickup services, as far as I know, you are able to compost any organic material. So that includes any food scraps, vegetables, fruits, eggs, bones, meat. But I know if you're composting at home, or if you're giving your compost to a specific farmer, they may ask you to eliminate some things such as dairy or bones. So just make sure that you know what you can and can't put into your compost, because there are different ways you can compost, and depending on how massive of a compost pile, they may ask you to leave out certain items. So just, again, check out what you're doing and learn the rules.
Exactly. That's basically how I've discovered all of the resources pertaining to low waste and zero waste and composting and recycling and all of that stuff in my community. I simply just Google, and if the answer is not there, then I call a local business and I'm like, hey, like, do you accept this? Or can I take this here? Or what are some other services you provide that I could utilize if I'm wanting to recycle or compost or whatever? So and again, I know calling people on the phone is scary. I do that for my job all the time. And it definitely kind of can be stressful at times, but I often have found even just giving someone a phone call is much faster and gets to the point much quicker than it would if I spent 30 minutes on Google, which is also fun. But at the same time, I kind of just want to get the answer so I can figure out where I can take my things. So call people.
Yes, I agree. And then some compost services will actually give you soil in return. So I recently learned that in Washington, D.C., Anybody can pick up free compost from the city by the Fort Totten metro station. So I'm going to hopefully do that in the next few weeks. So ask
That's
some
so
questions.
cool.
Usually people are excited when you're interested in what they do. Okay, so let's transition to bulk bins. So I know we both have some examples here.
Oh, yes.
This is an old jam container. You guys probably recognize this jar. Claire's got 2 other jars.
Yeah, these are, I think, were salsa jars. So, and this was one of the last bulk items I was able to get from the bulk store prior to COVID. So this one, again, this is me being honest right now. These coconut flakes came from a bag, but I was just so bummed to not have bulk items on my counter. I just threw them in here. But again, that's still buying in bulk. Unfortunately, the bag is plastic. I think I can recycle it. Not sure if I can recycle it in my community. I need to call someone about that. But keep in mind that, again, you don't have to be perfect when you're doing this all the time. And as someone who's been pursuing this lifestyle for, again, about 5 years now, I'm nowhere near perfect. So, oh, and I'll show this one. I got this jar at a local thrift store, but one of the ways that I have started to reduce my waste in the kitchen is by making my own granola. So I don't have to purchase that. Some of the ingredients do come in packaging, but at least I can either recycle them or it comes in a large package. So this is another good way to go.
Nice. Yeah, I love homemade granola. One of my roommates makes homemade granola, and it's inspiring me to make that. Can you still
You should. And throw peanut butter in it. I promise it's the best thing you'll ever do.
Yes, I will have to do that. I don't love oatmeal, so I need to figure out a thing to do with my oats.
I can send you a recipe. This one's delicious if I do say so myself. Again, I'm eating it for breakfast right now. So.
Yum. Yeah. So jars are great. A lot of people think you have to go out and buy a bunch of stuff. If you're just buying things like sauces and jams in jars, just save your jars. And usually if you're buying bulk, I sometimes buy bulk in jars. Sometimes I'll bring just like bags, like cotton bags. If you're using jars, you do have to tear them beforehand. So you have to weigh the jar, write down the weight, and then usually bulk is charged for in weight. So if you have like, let's say I'm buying this jar full of trail mix, I want to make sure I deduct the weight of the jar so that I'm only charged for the weight of the innards.
Yes.
So again, you can ask anybody at a grocery store if you want a refresher on that. I know there are only some stores in DC right now offering bulk services because of COVID. I know, Claire, you've said that you don't know any stores offering bulk. So again, give them a call, or when you're at the grocery store, just ask somebody and see if they have bulk. If they don't, maybe you gotta wait till next year. That's okay too. And then speaking of plastic bags, I bought this granola in a big plastic bin, like a big gallon plastic container. And I'm actually saving that plastic so I can use it for maybe when I go camping and I want to put some granola in there. So sometimes my roommates make fun of me because I save so many containers.
Same. I have so much stuff I think I'm becoming a hoarder at times because I just have too many things. And I'm like, I might use it eventually. And then I'm like, when am I going to use it? But I keep it like just in stock so I can potentially utilize it if I need it. And then I also wanted to add one note about bulk sections. I know in the past at my bulk stores, when they were selling bulk, we could only use brown bags or like your own cloth bags. And I didn't have a whole lot of cloth bags. I actually reused bags that some of my swimsuits came in as my cloth bags, and it worked out really well. But I would reuse the brown bags when I went to the store. But one thing to keep in mind is people do have food allergies. So if you are going to reuse those, know what your bag was used for. You can write it on the bottom, like this was for granola. I say that because both my sisters have celiac disease, so and they're very sensitive to gluten and wheat. So if I do purchase those things, I don't want to cross-contaminate other food items or like the little scooper where you get your food. So that's something to keep in mind if you are going to do that.
That is really smart too, yeah, because I know some people who have really serious nut allergies. Great point. I definitely didn't think of that one. So getting into bags, some things come in these nice plastic bags that have a little zipper. I actually save those. I'll wash them out with water, and that's another great thing, especially if I don't want to carry a glass jar. Maybe I'm camping, maybe I'm hiking. I can take some nuts and throw them in this plastic bag that is already being reused. Another great kind of bag, it's called Stasher bag. It's basically a silicone bag that looks like so. They come in all different sizes and colors. This one actually has some dried mango in it.
Nice. I love mango.
So I wouldn't put super liquidy things in this, I'm going to be honest. They do seal very well. But I actually did a test the other day. I put some water in it and I shook it up and I did this and I got water all over my lap. So probably not great for soups. But still for berries and stuff that are like a little bit more like wet or have some liquid in them, that should be okay. So yeah, these are really, really nice when it comes to bags. Another type of bag that I like, I actually got these from a woman named Greta who lives in Alaska. It is just, you know, a little bag, but actually it's waxed paper. So I know that people use these beeswax wraps, which are really, really nice. They, let's say this is my piece of food. It wraps around, and then with the heat from your hands from the wax, it will stay nice and shut there. You do have to only wash them with cold soapy water, or else the wax can melt and it can get weird. But I discovered this last year, a waxed paper bag. You can, again, like, I'll put my phone in here, and then you can crumple up the top. And
oh my gosh.
Like these are a little bit old. So I would actually put a rubber band around this too if I definitely want it to stay. Actually, I'll link her page. These are handmade from her. She has amazing fabric choices. I have some with like bikes on them,
oh my gosh,
and leaves on them. And small female-owned businesses. Any other?
I've never seen those bags before, and I don't even know. I use Stasher bags. I use beeswax wraps. I need to get rid of some of mine. I also use towels sometimes, like this, or my reusable napkins to cover things up in the fridge, like my greens. I will get this wet beforehand and then put them in my, like, it's not a cloth bag, but like the mesh bags, and then put my kale or lettuce or whatever in there. And it keeps the lettuce fresh for an extended period of time. So those are some of the things I do. And then I also just have plastic containers I've had forever that I store my food in, or I put it in jars. I don't do anything super special or crazy. So that's about the extent of my storage.
So we were talking about how many options there are for where you can put your food and how you can put your food in things without creating as much waste. So saving bags, saving containers, stasher bags, jars, Tupperware. I save jars of all sizes and shapes. So my friend Cindy gave me a gift of some honey in this jar. I think it's going to be great for maybe gifting honey to somebody else one day.
That's so cute.
Lastly, I have this steel container. I actually really like this. It is super airtight, so it has these little snaps on it. I got this online from the Package Free shop. They have these in all different sizes. I like these for travel because they're not as heavy as glass. And also, like, I take this camping, I use it as a bowl, and I got a plate here.
Oh my gosh, that is like a plate. That's so cool.
Yeah, so this comes in handy. I've thought about getting more, but honestly, I've been great. I've had one for about a year. And the Package Free store is another great resource for finding items with less waste. I know that they'll ship things to you that have entirely compostable and recyclable packaging. It is based in New York. They have 2 locations, one in Brooklyn, I think one in Chelsea Market. They have a great website that has a lot of resources as well. So now we want to talk about just the waste around our food and like what we're buying when we go to the grocery store. I know this is tricky. I know it's not accessible for everybody. It depends on how much time you have to cook, how much knowledge you have about cooking, how much you want to cook.
Yeah, the want is a definite.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't want to cook, it's even worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I have, as I'm more recently, again, leaning into creating less waste, one cool thing is I find whenever I try to create less waste in my kitchen, the health of what I'm ingesting in my body skyrockets. Also, the time I spend in the kitchen also increases. So just things to take into consideration. How do you feel about trying to buy less food covered in packaging?
Yeah, actually, when I first started doing zero waste lifestyle things 5 years ago, not that I ever ate unhealthily, but I definitely noticed that a lot of things were cut out of my diet because I was solely avoiding them due to packaging. It wasn't even like, I was like, yeah, I'd love that candy bar. But when I think about the packaging, I'm like, So I can also attest that when I started doing more low waste and zero waste recipes in my kitchen, that a lot of my food is based predominantly on whole, like plant foods. So I do a lot of potatoes, a lot of squash, a lot of veggies, because you can get those package free. Unfortunately, right now, back into like the bags thing, my grocery store doesn't allow me to use reusable bags because of COVID. So I also reuse those bags and just bring in those same plastic bags. But I do a lot of that, and I make a lot of soups and things like that. Additionally, I also purchase things in cans because tin is often easier to recycle than plastic, obviously. And I can't always find things in cardboard that I want. But it's also important to keep in mind that there are issues surrounding cans too. But if that's all you have, and that's all you have money to afford, and that's all you have access to, go for it. It's a great way to reduce your waste and help to continue the cyclical cycle that hopefully is recycling and what recycling will become in the future.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah. And I think another thing, with that, it's really encouraged me to have more fun in the kitchen. So for example, as I'm phasing into less waste, I finally used up my last tortilla, and those usually come in plastic. And usually plastic bags that you can reuse because they have the little seal, which is nice. But I recently learned how to make tortillas myself, and I was shocked at how easy it is. It's basically like a lot of flour, some oil, some salt, and I think that was it. There might have been one other ingredient, but it's super simple. I learned that don't over knead it, because mine were like super flaky, super tasty. And oh my gosh, I want to make tortillas every week now. So like for me, cooking is therapy. And I'm always like, I don't think I would have maybe tried to make tortillas if I wouldn't have been doing this. But now I think about like, okay, this thing is packaged. How can I make it myself, right? Granola. And I definitely don't always make it myself. Sometimes I'll still go to the store and buy it. But when I'm feeling it, when I'm getting that, urge to cook something new, it can be a lot of fun. And, if my tortillas would have turned out crap, I still would have had fun. So
I'm definitely going to try that. I never, like, being in college, since I just graduated recently, I never delved into the creation of my own breads or tortillas or certain things. I did make I made all my own food. But I didn't ever do that. And now I'm very interested because I have a little bit more time on my hands, and I love tortillas with olive oil and salt. Bake that in the oven for like 350 or 400. Oh my gosh. Thank me later. They're so good.
Yeah. And then you can even you can take the tortillas and cut them up and make those into tortilla chips. I haven't tried that yet. But right. And literally the simplicity of it, it makes me think about, maybe 100 years ago when we didn't have all these kitchen appliances, and how, I think a lot of families would just regularly make tortillas. That was just part of their routine. Another great one is homemade tomato sauce, but I'm going to transition now because I could talk about cooking for a whole nother 10 hours. So we're not going to do that.
Another episode.
Maybe that's another episode. But I think the last topic to cover here, and not the last topic we are going to cover in this episode, is cleaning supplies in your kitchen. So I have, this is a great story. I was talking to my roommate, David, about, he wanted to buy some of those. He was like, are there reusable paper towels or something? And I was like, hey, David, you know what a reusable paper towel is? It's just a towel. Yes. It's just a towel.
It is.
So it's sometimes just getting back to the basics. We all got towels around, and they're washable, and they're so versatile on how you can use towels.
Yeah. If you do want a fun product though, do you know what Swedish dishcloths are?
Yes, those are really,
so
really
those
cool.
are reusable paper towels. I have some. I was gifted one, and I actually purchased one when I was traveling one time. And those are pretty good too. I will say, I probably should throw mine out. They get a little dirty. You can wash them in the dishwasher or in the laundry, but that's one option. But I definitely have switched over just to cloth napkins. They're so versatile, like towels like that. And that's what I use in my kitchen now. I've been trying to cut back on utilizing, what are they? Like the sanitation wipes. There are some compostable ones if you do want to go that route. I'm not sure if they're compostable in every landfill or in every community, but that is an option you have. But I've, again, been trying to transition away from that and have just been utilizing like a cleaning soap and then a washcloth or a towel in my kitchen.
Yeah, and also there are compostable sponges. So I can't remember what brand they were, but another great option. I like went to Target the other day and I was looking at all the sponges, and like there were some really snazzy ones that I put in my cart, and then I sat there a little bit longer and I found this. So this is actually, I believe it's walnut husks, and it's a little grittier. So it's like, this is what I use for my bathroom actually, but you can use the same thing in the kitchen. It's a little rougher, so it's good for like anything that's like caked on. So that's a great option. Just, I don't know, like look at your sponges and see if any of them are compostable. I've also seen like loofah-like sponges or like nut husks, different types of nut husks for these. And then coming back to that resource I talked about, Grove, this is another great option for cleaning. We actually, me and my roommate both had this. So this is our under the sink, like floor messy things, not for our dishes. But it's kind of a brush like this. There's all sorts of brushes like this that are wooden or bamboo. This does have some plastic on it, I'll be honest. But it's great to, again, like scrub. And then I'd never seen this before. It is a container where you can put soap in, and then this little thing goes on the top, and then you just push down and get the soap, and then you scrub.
Oh my God.
So that's nice. It does require liquid soap. I know there's a lot of different companies that have, like really hydrated, really potent liquid soap. So you add water to the liquid soap. And then speaking of soaps, I'm going to shamelessly promote my favorite soap company. This is not sponsored. But so this is low waste soap. It's foaming hand soap by a company called Blue Land. I have 4 of the different products here I'm going to show. So this is foaming hand soap. Essentially, you get a tablet like this. This is compostable packaging here, and it's a little round tablet, and you take the round tablet, you plop it in the glass bottle, you add water, and then it dissolves and it becomes foaming hand soap. I would show you what it looks like here, but then I'll have a soapy hand, so that'd be awkward. So a few other products that they have. They also have like dish soap. So this is a silicone container. You can see it, dish soap. They have really simplistic packaging, and it's just a powdered dish soap. And I would actually do something. I'll actually show you this time because I don't have to put it in my hands. Actually, here we go. I'll use the sponge and I'll go wash my dishes after this episode. So this is the foaming hand soap. How can I do this? It's really foamy, super foamy. So real cool stuff. It's really fun to watch it dissolve too. And then so this is their dish soap. So we use this to wash our dishes in the sink. We also have a dishwasher that we use. So you just shake a little powder on there. And it's great because you think about soap, liquid soaps are usually mostly water. And this is another thing where you buy the silicone bottle once and they send you the powder refill in a compostable container, in a recyclable container in the mail. So that's really nice. I just refill this whenever I need to. I actually have a bunch of refills under my sink already. So 2 more products from Blue Land that I love. They have a bunch of different cleaning products. So this is their multi-surface cleaner. They also have a bathroom cleaner and a hard surface cleaner, or a glass cleaner, something like that. They're all different colors, so they're color coded, which is nice. And again, they just have a little tablet. You put the tablet in the bottle, you fill it up with water, and you got your cleaner. These are all like non-toxic, and they're not going to kill you if they get in your mouth type thing. And
that's
then
last,
yeah. Not that I'm squirting weird things in my mouth or anything, but you know.
You got to put that
just
out
in
there.
case you got kids or pets or whatever. And then this is one of their newer products. It is their dishwasher tablets. So there's powder dishwashing soap. They're all different types of dishwashing soap. But these are actually little tablets like this.
Oh my gosh.
So I just put a little tablet in my dishwasher. I close it up. I press start. And I know we're not talking about laundry or clothes, but they also have laundry washing tablets. So I use a little tablet, throw it in my washer. And again, I'm not I'm not using products that have unnecessary water, right? So a lot of our cleaning products, they're in plastic bottles that we have to throw out every time or recycle every time. And they're selling us water. They're selling us water that it just doesn't make sense to me. So I think it's really cool that we can buy soap without the water, add the water ourselves. And then also it takes up less space in your cupboards.
It definitely does. I think I've been wanting to invest in that company's products for a long time, and I think you've sold me on them. Like I said, I'm finishing up using the products I have now. And that actually is a good segue into, if you are wanting to pursue a low waste or zero waste lifestyle, utilize the products that you have already. Again, this goes into don't bite off more than you can chew, and it doesn't have to be perfect right off the bat. Use what you have. I'm still using products that I've had for like 2 years because when I was living with people, we had a lot of cleaning supplies and I somehow ended up with all of it. So I'm trying to finish off all of those before I invest in something new. And then we also were just talking about this too. You do have the option to make your own cleaning supplies. Both Sophia and I have not done that. Well, you've done it with deodorant. I haven't done it because it's not intimidating to me. I just never had the time or the desire to do it. But that is an option if you do want to like reduce your waste even more.
Yeah. I met this amazing woman in Malaysia who actually fermented her own cleaning product. So I'm not going to get into that because that's a whole nother story for another time. But there are so many ways to do this. This is just, in my opinion, for me, it's one of the easier ways to get less waste in my life. And respect the resources that we have on this planet. So again, I will have all these links in the description for you. You can always check out local. You can always check out other resources, and do it one step at a time. So maybe you're out of dish soap. Maybe you try buying powdered dish soap somewhere. Maybe you are out of paper towels. Maybe you try to go a week using your towels instead of paper towels and see how that goes. I know one thing for us in our kitchen, we have a bag on a hook and we'll put our dirty towels in a bag. So like if I spill coffee on the counter, which I do pretty often, I will just take a towel, I'll wash it up, I'll wash out the towel, and then I'll hang it and then I'll put it in our dirty towel bag. Because I think, you go through more towels when you use towels instead of paper towels. There's also compostable paper towels, so that's also another option. But,
true. And I just thought of something. One of my friends, he grew up in what his girlfriend called a quote unquote hippie household. And they would utilize their old t-shirts, like cut them into rags. And there was a bucket of clean ones and dirty ones under their sink. And that's just what they use to clean up everything. So that's something else. Again, you don't have to buy it. Everyone has old, nasty t-shirts they don't wear anymore that you can cut up and use as rags. Like, again, it doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be aesthetically pleasing, and it doesn't have to be perfect. The whole point of zero and low waste is to utilize what you have and reduce your consumption. So that's a great way to reduce it.
Yeah, I love that tip. That's actually, we have like a bin of like lost socks in our house. They've honestly probably been here from people that lived here before we did, because there's been a rolling turnover. But I just also thought of the idea, this might be gross, but if you have like a clean old sock that nobody's claimed, you could put a bar of soap in the sock and use that as like a way to wash your dishes. I don't know. Maybe that's a little gross to some people.
Oh no, I was just getting ready. I found a stray sock in my apartment and it's going to be used as a dust rag here soon. I've already put it in my little container I have for my dust supplies. So definitely going to use that because it's just sitting there. I'm like, what am I going to do with this? I don't want to throw it away. So how can I utilize it? So that's what I'm going to do, hopefully.
Yes.
Well, eventually.
Eventually. All right. I think we're going to wrap up this episode. I'm making these Taboo Tuesdays a little bit longer now because there's just too much good stuff to talk about. I hope we overcame some of the taboos of creating less waste. It's practical. It's doable. You can do it again if you want to. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. That's your life. So again, you can watch Taboo Tuesday on Instagram TV at Sophia Finster. You can watch it on YouTube at Sophia Finster. And coming soon in the next few weeks, you'll be able to listen on wherever you listen to your podcast as well. That is exciting. Stay in touch, like, comment, subscribe, review, all those good things. Share it with a friend. If a friend has been wanting to go low waist, you're always welcome to reach out to myself or Claire on wherever you can reach us. We're happy to chat more about how you can create less waste in your life. Any last words, Claire?
No, I think you covered it all. So I'm stoked for the podcast.
All right. Yes, me too. If you're interested in co-hosting a Taboo Tuesday episode or have an idea of a taboo topic that you'd like covered, definitely reach out to me. We will see you next week for Taboo Tuesday, and hopefully chat with you soon. Have a good one. Bye.